Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I'm once again joined by Demosthenes
Hey, folks.
and Darkside Cookies.
Hello, hello.
So we've got a pretty fun turn coming up because you were storming that throne that Asphodel has been hidey holed away in, and Asphodel wants to win this fight. They just literally threw away a ton of chaff last turn just so that it wouldn't get stolen from them, so they have a shot at winning this next fight.
Yep,
So I think we should probably it's this one Clapcap Spires.
yep.
Yep.
Okay. So this looks like a gym baiting army, and also probably getting rid of the wait, but this is the higher MR chaff.
Yes.
Huh.
So my theory is he saw what we were doing with this. We stacked enough Battlefront wipes last time that we did not have everything like Acid Storm in
Right.
that, and it was only like 1 or 2 Earthquake. He probably determined these guys are going to blow up to Earthquake, and he can't do
Right.
anything about that. And so he wanted to use them as a jump bait instead. So we can watch a very big boom.
Goodbye.
So what
Yeah, there's a little
Brad
bit
just said
pay
is
to
that
win. It's just wailing on these guys. It's like they show up and you've spent like 50 gems, they don't even get to play.
yeah.
It's a lot of earthquakes. Okay, here we go. All right, Darkside Cookies. Walk
Yeah.
us through the scripting for this. What's going on your side? What should we expect?
Oh, Firestorm. For sure.
Firestorm. That's probably this guy.
Because
And
if you look at the commander list and you scroll through that,
Yeah.
we have to have an answer to all of the random garbage that the Black Dryads can do and how. And
Yeah, so Firestorm's going to do a ton of stuff. Are we expecting to see a lot of buffs get cast, or is it mostly going to be like put on some resistances and then just fucking all the mages are just pummeling battlefield wide evocations?
yeah, I think the buffs should be a little bit more efficient now. We should have more of the Fens. I think we've got enchantment 8 now, if I remember right. So
Okay.
covering the army with resistances should be a lot more efficient. And so hopefully we can do both. Get a bunch of buffs out and get a bunch of big evocations going. Especially on the longbows on the walls.
Now, you know what I want to know? Is the Dryad here?
Is sadly
Not
not.
the Dryad, the Fairy Queen. It's not?
Yeah.
Dude. That's lame.
Yeah, I think he wanted to kill Naba.
Yeah. I think that's a hate boner.
I think it's also like use the tools where you think that they can hold out. And so if you thought he was going to lose, maybe you don't spend them here.
These harpies have high MR too. I didn't notice that before.
Yeah, all the mannequin type things like satyr mannequins, harpy mannequins, etc. have high MR, and all the carrion beasts, the carrion wolves, etc. have low MR as sort of the boundary.
Unfortunately, I think it is still enough mannequins and enough HP on those mannequins where if they all blow up, it might HP route a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you steal even a quarter of all this while you have all the wipes up, especially if you were to somehow steal the quarter before the buffs go down so that your buff, like the ones you steal, get buffed.
I forget if we had a second.
None of these are commanders.
Yeah, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for us, we managed to do enough damage to his nature economy, I guess, that he's sort of not able to.
Unfortunately for YouTube, you guys are fighting the B team. He doesn't have the Fairy Queen. He doesn't have the Prophet. Man, I've really been looking forward to that. I mean, there's still a ton of mages. Like these are not units. Like there's not a harpy unit you can recruit. These are all mages. But
I think it's like literally 150 black dryads.
But they literally can't do anything. There's literally no spell they can cast that's going to do them any good at all.
Yeah, that's right. So the one sort of decision that we had here is that we did mass flight as the structure of our play rather than some sort of hold back or
Right.
sort of storm-based play. Even though we probably have more evocation and missile fire, like what we're worried about is them getting a chance to buff those ancient presences enough that they can't die even when
Yeah.
surrounded by, whatever we've got.
They can route now too, right? Like they'll be responsive to a battlefield wipe. So
Yes,
killing everything
that's
else.
right.
We've also turned on a lot of Phoenix Pyre scripting too.
Oh my god, look at all the text. You can't even see the mages. There's so much text. Elemental Fortitude, okay. Let's see what you're casting on your side. People hate it when I talk instead of... Okay, we're going to watch, and then we'll go back. People are going to hate it if I sit there and commentate. All right, here we go. The fuck? Did you steal these? Oh no.
Maybe in this replay.
I think some of them in this replay, yeah. I think one of them got stolen.
Huh. Okay. Let's watch it again with commentary. Okay, so we'll watch this over here. So turn 1 you had... That's a turn 1 Acid Storm.
Yep.
Earthquake going off, a bunch of things.
It would have been good if we'd done a round 5 Fire Fend for the stuff that we stole, but I don't think we did.
Yeah.
I don't
Now they're
think we were...
casting regrowth. So they're doing like the asphodel regrowth on their mannequins.
There's only on
Which
the
I guess
big one.
is good in the face of like battlefield wipes. It's gonna give them a better chance of staying alive. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think regrowth is one of the better things they can do, because if they can get, like, especially on the Carrion Furies, additional regeneration,
Mm-hmm.
and of course on the ancient presences, like that, like he really needs Iron Skin on them to sort of have enough protection to be able to tank hits. But ancient presence is sort of a HP regeneration based super combatant, and so the more regeneration you can stack, the better.
Yeah. Oh my god, what the fuck happened there? It looks like Maws of the Earth hit or something, but I think that was just an earthquake.
Yeah,
I think that was just like 5 earthquakes. Yeah.
What the fuck? Like battlefield-wide Maws of the Earth. That was crazy. Like, look at the commander list here. Look how many dead dryads there are already. It's like turn 2. Oh my god. Oh my god. You've already killed, like, it's literally combat round 2, and 80% of the black dryads are dead.
Yeah.
Oh god. Because they don't have armor, right? So unless they get barkskin put on them, which is going to be tough with Firestorm, but I think you have to do it.
Yeah. And their defense is pretty good, but I don't know whether Winter has released the patch for this yet. But I think there was a bug that was present for a long time and may still be in the version we're recording with, where Earthquake would use the defense of the caster rather than of the target. So it might be that even though the ones of these who aren't suffering from afflictions and I guess stunned by the previous Earthquake.
I didn't know Earthquake's stunned now. That's amazing. Huh.
Yeah, I think it's got a chance to do it.
I mean, it's basically stunned all the people on the ground.
Well, but again, I think that the defense check was incorrectly against the caster who just knocked himself out by casting a giant earthquake spell. So anyway, that might be
Yeah.
a bug.
Yeah, there
But,
was that.
you know,
That was a big bug. But dear lord. I mean, these guys are still pretty tough, but they don't have magic weapons. And you guys have mist form, right? Or no?
Yeah, I think we might not
Oh,
have
yeah,
it
you
up
do.
yet.
I
Yeah.
think it just bought.
Yeah, one of the things with the Firestorm combination is it pulls that off, pretty quickly.
Right. But you don't need long, and this Black Centaur kill things pretty quick, so.
Yeah.
This is what I love about Dominions. Is that versus scare, like literally, you can bring 200 mages to a fight, and you only kill 18 units.
Yeah.
Like, what other game would this be possible? None. There's no other game like this where you can bring 180 commanders or more, 200 commanders to a fight, and you kill just 18 garbage tier troops while losing 1,100 of your own.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty unique, and it's not like your guys have amazing stats or whatever. It's like the combined effect of the particular battlefield and otherwise spells that were cast, right? It's very possible, if another player had been playing Shinuyama and didn't, scripted their mages very differently, to just do protection buffs and stuff like that they could have lost that fight. Like it's the outcome is not completely without a doubt,
It's like the opposite of Stellaris, when it's like basically in Stellaris, whatever your fleet size is, that's how good your army is. And so there's a lot of mechanics that like go into what weapons do you put on it, and like that matters some. But if you've got like a 5,000 fleet and the other person has like a 1,000 fleet, like none of that really matters, I don't think. Maybe I could be misspeaking, but
I think I'm sure that there's sort of various times at various balance patches or whatever, that's not quite that, but I think that's broadly correct.
Yeah. Wow. That was just an absolute objective lesson. And I mean, it's a lesson in how to play Shinuyama, a lesson in how to get your ass whooped as asphodel. I mean, that was ridiculous. I'm a little bit okay. I am upset. I'm a little triggered that they didn't magic phase. I don't know if they would have won though. I think they wouldn't. The battle was over too soon. The battle was over by like turn 8.
Yeah,
I think if they had done Fog Warriors and Legion's Demise, which I don't think they had the stuff to do. Like I don't think they had the alt to do Fog Warriors or
they've got all the rights. They've got all the rights. They might not have had the this is sort of where it was so important that after we wiped their army, we systematically tried to attack their magic diversity, right? Like taking their capitals, they could get their pretenders back and so on. It's like they had air cube mages. I'm sure they could buy some stuff from the Devanger, but I think they just didn't have like the gear and so on assembled, without getting donations of really valuable gear that probably is going to be lost to an enemy or whatever, to be able to sort of put that together. And in our script was something where by turn 3 most of their stuff was gone, and like the stuff they might have had around the Fairy Queen as blocker chaff might have disappeared, and then you could land on it or whatever. Like I think it would have been very hard, even if they had it, to sort of keep it up long enough.
I want to take a look at the Dryad Hag here.
Yeah.
If they had more of these and less of the other Dryads, they of course had a lot worse research, but they would have Glamour 2s, Nature 2s, Death 2s, and then Water 1s.
Yeah, I mean, there's
the
Moss
Glamour
Body.
2s can do like Ephemeral Blast, right?
Yeah.
But with gems.
Yeah, well, Twilight up maybe.
Yeah, Twilight.
But I would expect Shinuyama to cast Darkness there. I don't know why we didn't. I think we might have just decided that it wasn't worth it from a gem perspective.
I'm trying to think what they could even have done.
I think they tried almost everything. They brought in the Black Centaur. They had the Ancient Presences to HP anchor the army, but it just...
I mean, I think the thing they had to do was to just Like I think the problem was they didn't have sacreds, right? And they would have had to have outfought you with sacreds that had all the buffs on them.
They had 60 sacreds. Like if you look at the troop count, we had probably 100 die Bakemono. They had maybe some draconians too, but I kind of think of draconians as mostly
No, but
garbage
these
for
guys
fighting.
don't count.
There's some carrion
These are
furies
like
too.
support. Okay. Let's see. Carrion Furies, they had 20. No, they had
20 and
50
50.
sacreds. This
Yeah,
is
50,
like a
50.
turn. This is like a turn 20 rush.
Yeah.
Or not turn 20. This is like a turn 12 rush or something, right? Like this is not. I mean, they had a bunch of other stuff too, but in terms of like the people who were actually gonna do stuff, it was the Ancient Presence, the Black Centaur, and the Carrion Furies. And pretty much everything else was just chaff that was gonna die. So, but I'm trying to think. I guess if you had more Glamour 2s, because the Glamour 2s are really useful, and if you had more Nature 2s, those are pretty useful. They can do, like, they can cast regeneration with the gem on the Centaur Warriors if you're not doing that, like.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of at the point of the game where you do have the battlefield-wide buffs, so I think it would be more like
Right.
some of the things that don't have a battlefield-wide version, like Moss Body, absolutely. Covering all of your sacred
Yeah.
in Moss Body would make them way more durable.
Quickness for the water ones, yeah. But
Death
the Earth ones,
twos,
too, the Earth aren't very useful.
Death twos, you could have them forward positioned
Disintegrate.
to attack one turn Shadow Blast. Try to
Yeah.
like bomb our army and interrupt some spells with like 20 casts of Shadow Blast if you had 20 D2s, That I think that had a real chance of messing up whatever we were planning,
Yeah. But I think the problem is when you make, I think there's an argument to, like, you certainly want to make some of these guys because they're your cheaper researcher and faster because you get, oh wait, no, just cheaper. I was thinking these guys were 4 recruitment points. But when you go too hard into like just research monkeys that can't do anything in combat, then, it's kind of bad.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And, I think like, that, they could have had a different sort of doctrinal strategy for how they fought the raiding war. Like we won a very large portion of raiding war engagements because usually we're bringing a lot more mage support. And, some of those fights, like if they just had, a couple of the Dryad Hags doing even like just like animating a ton of trees and illusions and stuff, like, pretty low level stuff to support the asphodel chaff. That could potentially make a difference.
Or or
if they had Dryad Hags doing it, like they had, I think they way overproduced Black Dryads, which I say that the trade off is they would have less research if they made these, but I think that's probably worth it. Like they haven't so far in this war against you, they haven't gotten any value out of really any of their research yet. Like the Ancient Presences haven't done much. Like I'm talking like the high end research.
Yeah.
The Ancient Presence haven't done much. The Legion's Demise would have, but we didn't get to see it. So...
Yeah, and, Naba had, like, their main stack on that fort on the turn they broke siege and just, dodged and left some camels on top. Like, it was the case that they could have potentially wiped a main Naba army with that Legion's Demise reveal. I think Naba even cracked the fort and then moved off. Like, it was definitely, a situation where very commonly you would be expecting a storm and be able to put a big wipe. So... It's not that it couldn't have, but it was that, the Naba player wisely backed off.
Fire Shield meets a bunch of mannequins. Is he fatigued out? Yes. Does it really matter? No.
Yeah. I think that's where it really helps as Asphodel to bring something that you spent gems on that is like a killy thing, like the Forest Giants. You can get like 2 of them for 2 gems, and they just walk into their big club and bonk things, and it's like a couple swings and that guy's dead with the harassment and being asleep and so on.
Right. But what happened here? You attacked it? Oh, you were discovered. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Naba's going hard on the raiding war. On the Marinese front, they've raided this, and they put this under siege. They're making Kirby's going for it. He's making progress. He needs to lock this fort down really fast. He's got a few turns to really do a ton of work. I hope he's spending his gems on summons, because he really needs summons to help crack these forts. And here's the other problem for him is, well, now what is the Fairy Queen going to do? Like,
Yeah.
there's really nothing left to do to fuck with you. So now Kirby's gonna have to deal with that Fairy Queen. Like, that's gonna
Yeah.
be horrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that diplomacy could shift, and there could be an everybody against Shinuyama coalition that Asphodel would be happy to sort of use that Fairy Queen for.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to kill it, but he's not going to get the main capital without killing it. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if he can. I mean, he can. It's gonna be hard. I think he has to mass summon air elementals, and I don't know how good they are, especially against Asphodel Chaff. So maybe there's other ways, but I think it's gonna be a trickier puzzle for them because they don't have a lot of research. They can't probably do as many battlefield wipes.
Yeah.
Maybe they might have Firestorm and Wrathful Sky, so maybe they could.
Yeah.
Maybe a bunch of fire elementals and a golem. Maybe that would be enough stuff on the field that you could clear it out.
Yeah. So one thing to note, sort of Ulm has reconsolidated on Pyrene a bit more, but they have not gone into Vulture the Asphodel territory and have nobody on the border. So we're sort of thinking we should just grab that at this point, like the Machaka region.
Yeah.
And you can see sort of we have these are some of our like screening armies that were there to defend the sort of retreat routes from that big port battle, but are also probably capable of fighting that stack of what Asphodel has without trouble.
Yeah.
And one of our strategic goals, you see there's a bunch of indie provinces there. Apparently the Necromancer has gone wild in this game and consumed several lands around there.
Yeah.
But we're sort of hoping to get access to that throne. Because at this point, we need to think about, like, do we throne rush before the coalition comes, or sort of what is our strategy? And that throne we can definitely get to if we just take a little bit more land.
Though Nidavanger should be making moves towards it. I mean, it looks like they're coming in here, huh?
Yeah, exactly. He's coming into Vulture.
Vulture. He's in the Vulture grind set, man. He's like, I'm gonna Vulture the shit, and I mean, more power to him. But like, I don't like he's gonna piss off Naba because this is stuff Naba wanted, and he needs to get these fucking thrones.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
You want to go to the next turn?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we got turn 60. Carrion Lord has claimed a throne. It's a desperate throne claim if I've ever seen one.
That was by us.
Oh, wait, what happened? Oh, that's yours. Okay.
Yeah, that's our Carrion Lord.
I am Asphodel now. You forget. Nice. So you got the Throne of Air. Nice.
I think did we steal another Carrion Lord?
We got the second. We have two. There was one from that big first showdown with them, and then one from that underwater enslaved mind operation.
Right. Right.
Okay.
So before you show anything more, we should watch battles from the storming of Pyrene, because there is a fight there.
Ulm has to take this, right? Like, he killed everything. Wait, where's the army?
King Santa has decided it's time to just do it himself.
Oh my god. The Allfather.
I'm a little disappointed.
There's nothing inside. There is stuff inside.
Heavy Thug. Storm Demon.
Wait. We've seen the inside. I don't know why I was saying I don't know what's in the inside. It's a bunch of thugs.
Yeah.
Like, it's thugs, and you're bringing your god? Scripted as a caster? Is this gonna work?
Well, we'll see. He's got a buddy.
Hal, the Wraith Lord? Is he blessed?
Looks like it. But their blessed is mostly reinvigoration.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, he's got his dominion in Pyrene's capital. That's sick.
Yeah. Well, gets Inquisitors and has been using them.
Oh, no, this is... Oh, so if his god dies, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
Well, potentially.
But you'll see what the Pretender is casting and understand what the Ulm plan is in about a few seconds.
What's it? Wind of Death? No. It's... Soul Drain. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is spicy. But I think I guess these thugs aren't flying. don't they have air access? Couldn't they make these thugs fly?
Yeah, but they probably weren't expecting him to come in with just the Pretender and some supporting thugs.
Yeah. They're saying
You know?
flying thugs are pretty good though.
Yeah, but you know, like if you've got that little stuff, are you gonna want to leave the protection of the wall, or are you gonna just storm and hope that the enemy can't get in? You know.
No, I think what I do is I make them fly and I do attack closest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what I do. And that way they wouldn't be on him right now, but they'd be helping kill this, and then somehow these guys haven't cleared the gate. Hey, weren't there more?
They spent a while
This
buffing.
guy's got a snake bladder stick. Where are the good thugs? Because I saw... Okay, here's one. There's another one that had... No, come on, dude. He's got the heart of quickness on him.
Yeah, I think something
Dude.
went wrong. I wonder whether Vulturing killed the blood slaves they had, or something went wrong. Like, because those guys knocked themselves out casting buffs, right? Like, they're, you know, that heart of quickness build is just not gonna work if you're already asleep.
Group barkskin. What's going on?
Maybe he didn't script it because he was dead. That might be what.
That's possible. You know, you can't... The bar we measure people to when they're defending their cap isn't this high.
Well, especially when it's the second defense of their capital and almost all their stuff back.
Yeah. He's already taken his pound of flesh, but... And the... wait, why is this guy fatigued out?
Blade wind. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, he's on advancing cast? No! You've given him a thug kit. No.
Yeah. That's regrettable.
No.
But,
can you charm them or enslave them? Huh.
Yeah, but he was on advancing cast with the Allfather with the infinite fatigue from the... Like, I think that Howl plus...
Oh, he stole one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was fucking cool. It's so rare to see Soul Drain, and I love seeing it every time. It's really cool.
And I think this is like a really cool build for Ulm because you can hit really high research. I think he was delayed because he only found like 2 fire gems in his 40 province empire or something ridiculous like that. But you know, this Kathy, you know, with Soul Drain and you know so on is like really, you know, the type of super combatant that an Ulm needs for sort of dealing with stuff that you can't usually deal with.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's pretty spicy, and he's tough.
You know,
he's got glamour with a ton of images. He's got luck, weapons of sharpness, a ton of reinvigoration, soul drain up, obviously. Simulacrylum if things go sideways, ton of paths.
Yeah, and you could imagine like if Ulm had more fire, you know, you could have put Phoenix Pyre, you know, empowered him to do Phoenix Pyre, and then you know it's really hard to get rid of that guy.
Well, that's cool. So, wait, Ulm's a free agent now.
Yeah.
Pyrene's dead. Long live Pyrene.
Yeah, pour one out for them. They, you know, managed to take until turn 60 to go out, despite, you know, having a coalition that was pretty big against them. Start 20 something turns ago.
Yeah. Well, damn. All right. Pour one out for Pyrene. Okay, what's up next? What do we have?
We should check out. There's some bumps between Naba and Nidavangra that are worth watching in the sort of Vulturing world.
Oh, right. This is what I'm saying. They're gonna piss them off. They're vulturing very hard.
Yes, I think it's south of Man.
Wait, is this the wrong one? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you want a second one. Yeah.
Okay, fire shield. So he's thinking asphodel.
Yeah.
Personal iron skin. Summon fire elemental. Okay, now what's the kit on this Malika? Okay. Pretty budget. Just kind of
Yeah.
designed to kill chaff. I mean, this will murder mannequins, but like, this is the thing, is like a couple of the carry-on furies, like, just would demolish her.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit just reading how the asphodel player has been playing. That he sort
Right.
of hasn't been recently deploying that type of mixed group, and so
Now this guy got his misform popped. I wonder if that was just from damage, or if it was they don't have magic weapons, do they? No. I guess it was just a lot of damage. And this guy's also gotten his misform popped.
yeah, I don't see an obvious cause. Maybe she still has it.
Oh no, she does. Okay. Wait, no. Oh, she does. This is the problem with misform though. You're like, oh, we reduce all the damage to 1, but if you're getting hit like 60 times or 20 times a round, that's a lot of damage per round still.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
You need some attack prevention thing like a Shroud of Bewilderness and protection and so on to sort of make it work.
Okay, well, we didn't. Okay, so he's doing wave warriors on these guys. Interesting.
Yeah, I would have expected
then-
quickness because, that's
Yeah, they. Well, wave warriors is a lot lower tech than quickening, and it's a pretty big area of effect. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad you got us to watch that.
yeah, and it's obviously important diplomatically. I guess he has a second bump, which maybe is worth watching.
All right. Well, this is where the army is. So this is interesting. This move from Naba, this is like far away, right? This deep rating into asphodel.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
think
kind of like them saying, like, hey, we're going to assert our claim over this territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they do get those recruit everywhere scouts, so maybe they saw the bumps coming.
How do they get regeneration on these guys?
He's got Nexus up, so
this
assuming he had a nature mage do it, yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, these guys held their own. They did pretty good. Just too much mage support.
Yeah.
But in a prolonged fight, they would do pretty well trading against the Jan Guard. Okay. Very cool. So in the battle, yeah, he lost 5 Jan Guard and then killed all this. But this is pretty much all disposable stuff.
Yeah, except for the 6 mages who might have had a Sky Metal Blade Matrix thing.
Right. Oh, that is true.
So maybe some gear lost. But when you have got Nexus up, like that kind of, even 50 gems of gear is not that big of a deal.
Okay, now this is a conundrum. So, riddle me this. Asphodel has told Nidavellir, hey, I'm dead, come vulture me.
Huh?
Right? And he didn't put up any resistance over here when Nidavellir was taking their stuff. But he's committed to holding troll lands, right? This is where his profit is. This is where all this stuff is. Is he going to let Nidavellir siege and hold man while
good
fighting
question.
Naba? That's what I'm expecting, but that's so ridiculous.
Yeah, and Naba actually kind of has a problem. Their army is now kind of behind the lines. Like,
Yeah, this army's sort of out of position to contest this stuff. And I mean, Asphodel's doing not Asphodel, Nidavellir is doing a pretty major commitment here.
yeah,
By the way, this also shows like what Nidavellir is not really great against. Like Naba Nidavellir matchup is actually kind of good for Naba. Like this would have been a really good war for them to fight potentially because like Naba loves making ranged units and Nidavellir really just doesn't like fighting ranged units very much.
yeah. I mean,
And-
they can do arrow fend at this point. Like, they could have scripted against it, but here
Sure,
I think
I meant more early. But
Yeah.
Like
I
they
think
don't
this is
really
very
have a unit where you're like, oh, this guy will like bathe in arrows
yeah.
or whatever. But
absolutely. I think
Okay.
that's sort of one of the things. I think Naba anticipated that Nidavanga was coming to Vulture and chose to take
Mm.
that move because he expected he'd be able to kill one of Nidavanga's armies.
Ah, I see.
You know, sort of because
He
a lot
probably
of the
had
time, like
scouts out.
yeah. And if your opponent is sort of using a medium commitment army and you've got like a higher commitment army, you tend to get a very asymmetric wipe like that. So
Yeah.
uh,
By the way, I don't like that move. Even though that's what he's thinking, like, okay, these guys are going to come in and vulture. I think the proper way to handle this is through diplomacy, where you say, hey, I'm really going for this thing. Like, I think it's going to have to be like you and me against Shinuyama. Can we just, like, I know you're bigger and stronger than me, but can I get like the man capital? And you can have, some stuff. But like the idea of like I mean, on one hand, it's kind of cool. Like your first impulse is to fight, to like take what's, like not just give stuff away for free. You earned this. Like I get all that, and it's kind of good. But I think like at the big picture, doing this assumedly before much negotiation, like this is somebody who really should be their ally in fighting you, who's like in a very clear position one now. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that right. I think this action only occurred because clearly whatever diplomacy had been happening over the last 10 or so turns was not such that I felt that there'd be any benefit in something without a show of force, right? Like I'm sure that
Right, and then
it was a
also Arcane
calculation,
Nexus
like
doesn't help either.
exactly,
This does not help Nidavanger with diplomacy, but
right. And I think like
yeah.
one of the challenges I think when you're a power like us or Nidavanger, where you're sort of in a leading position, is if you pull out the sharp elbows, it can really shift diplomacy a lot when you actually really need to be,
Right.
Probably bribing people to coalition with the other leading power.
Right.
So that and it's not just like sort of the incentive, but it's also like Naba. If you think about their interests, they want to still be in the game, in the running, right? And what they need is this man territory in order to do that, right? Like so it's
Yeah.
it's a little bit you should be giving them stuff so that they'll want to help you, but it's also like they are looking for a path to victory, and that path probably is going to require having more than what they currently have. And
I
here
don't
you are
think that's
on Nexus,
necessarily true. I think reducing like future game position to like 5 or 6 map provinces is almost always like far too reductive. It's
yeah,
like
I agree.
the overall state of the game and like who's on whose team and like how that's going to play out is so wildly more important than like who gets man's capital. Like let's look at this. How much, and we also know he's got the Legion's Demise caster over here, right? This is not a trivial effort, right?
Yeah.
And how long did it take to get, wait, where the fuck is it? What did this cost?
Yeah. Yeah.
And not only that, but speaking to kind of like bribes and sharp elbows is, one of our sort of bribes was we helped crack Marignan for him.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a little bit more friendly history there, and we're leaving the man region. So
yeah, y'all been super cooperative.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for like, somebody who's been super cooperative. Like I don't think I would stab you if I were Naba right now, but I would realize that like your position one, and I need to forge an alliance with everybody except you.
Yeah.
And I would want the man stuff, and I would try to negotiate to get it, but I'd try to get it in context of like a greater alliance. So
yeah, which like could be that the deal that is signed between the allies is Asphodel is going to ride out and hit me with their army, maybe somewhere I don't expect. And the deal is that once they, if their army gets wiped, then Naba can come and vulture or whatever, right? Like some deal like that where Asphodel still gets to play the game, and they're not going to just be sort of betting every turn, breaking
and Nidavanger would be Nidavanger would be the ideal person to broker that, since I have a feeling Naba and Asphodel aren't going to be able to come to terms by themselves. But Nidavanger would be like, hey man, Shinuyama, we made a mistake or whatever, letting Shinuyama eat you. Like, can you help fight them with whatever you have left? And, Naba said they won't attack until, your army's done or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a geographic thing too. Like Nidavanger is going out of their way to cut off Naba when they could have moved into the Machaka region and not fought Naba and they could have
Right.
maybe taken that left throne, maybe traded the right throne, the independent throne,
Yeah.
to Naba, and probably forged a really strong alliance.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because taking this would be presumably more taking it from you than taking it from Naba. But
Yeah.
they might not have realized that. They might have thought you were going to eat all this too. So,
Yeah,
which you
yeah.
probably would eventually. But
Yeah. Yeah, I think our default sort of plan would be to respect Naba's request that they want to fight Asphodel over that, but it looks like if Asphodel wins, we're going to move in as soon as possible, and if
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Whew, we got a golem here. What's he doing? Moving to down here. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I think like one of the,
I think we've seen most of the action this turn, right?
yeah.
What's the groundwork of the strategy for the upcoming turns? Take us into your mind.
Yeah, so there's sort of two big things sort of happening. One is we are preparing for war. Like if you look at how we're spending our money, it's a ton of mages to throw up, especially sort of magic diversity in places where we don't have it. So like on our Ulm border, on our Navanger border, making Bakumino first because we got tons of Ubas there, but not really those. I think maybe you can see there's a lot of like long movement arrows. I think we're taking a bunch of our diversity mages, like the Adepts of the Silver Order, and shuffling them to fronts where we expect to be able to do major. We pushes where we'll want, sort of options about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're still conserving gems, so you can see we're sort of saving up quite a bit of gem banks that we're going to be able to spend aggressively during wars without having to like stress about it. The one thing we have sort of an ambition for is those death gems, which we're sort of thinking it's like late enough in the game that rather than doing like a Well of Misery play, then we may just do that. We're thinking more like, what if we made like a dozen Bakumano Sorcerer Liches and, sort of use the tool of having like a ton of really high path immortal mages as sort of the core of an army and sort of see what we can do with that. So
Yeah, because our
yeah.
death income is even higher than it looks like because of Raven Feast.
yeah,
So
yeah, and,
So
I think, like-
help me with this. What are you thinking about attacking? So tell me, like, before you're getting into like the tactics.
yeah.
But like, what's the overall schedule you're thinking about? Like, are you going to attack Nidavanger? Are you going to attack? You had mentioned a TC throne over here. Like, tell me what you're thinking. Are you just going to try to snipe the indie thrones? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think we're thinking about sniping the indie thrones. Like, if you look at it, we have two thrones. There's the underwater one we can claim. There's the two indie thrones, and there's the Tianchi throne, and that makes 6. So that would be sort of the minimal, throne rush attempt. What we're thinking is that, we want to probably have more margin of error than that. And so our sort of army in the Asphodel region would be pushing for the Nidavanger throne that's right on the border there. So what we're sort of thinking is we're going to do like a war with Nidavanger, like in our nap, like in a turn or two, and do the countdown from there. But sort of the intent would be to sort of overwhelm the sort of center part of their empire that would sort of split the west stuff from the north stuff with like a really big doom stack.
Yeah.
And then apply extreme raiding pressure with some armies sort of cracking and taking all the little forts that he's been putting up, which aren't yet upgraded to be high wall strength in his sort of core lands around his capital.
Yeah.
While also just like flooding his cave provinces and taking all the gem income in those. And the thought is that, if we're able to do that push, maybe even if we're not able to win the big army fights, we'll be sort of reproducing armies quickly enough that that's fine and be able to pull a lot of his income into being our income. And in the meantime,
So-
get one more sort of guaranteed throne such that we can rush from there pretty easily.
Now, you're spending. So y'all hadn't been spending, but you've now decided you're going to spend into Nexus. Is that right?
No, we are planning to spend a bunch on the battlefield in Nexus where it doesn't feed Nexus. But I
thought
should
you said
remind
you were summoning a bunch of mages and stuff and making boosters.
No, we're just with gold making a bunch of mages. Like we have a huge stock of boosters already that we sort of made for the Asphodel War.
Okay.
Like I bet we've got 17 skull thefts in our. You could actually check, in the magic item overview, like the F8 view, just to see how much stuff we've got. But like construction 5,
17 skull staffs, 26 boots of the messenger, 18 water lenses. I always overproduce these. I'm very bad at. I'm like, oh, water lenses and water bracelets. I should make a lot of them, and then I never get the kind of use out of them I should. 55 lanterns. Okay.
But we're a good water mage. We could do a lot of quickening. But sort of the thought is to be able to put like not just like a late PD beating raiding force, but like a force that'll beat anything without real mage commitment, like everywhere,
Right.
and just flood across his empire and everywhere. Like he's it feels like his sort of army composition is very doomstacky. Like he's got a few sort of large armies, and so just take everything where they're not there and get big enough that even if the rest of the map fights us, it's just sort of the balance of total gem income is too far towards us. But I should
Yeah.
remind everyone that we have an arrangement with Ulm that they're going to do astral disruption to blow up all of his globals.
Oh.
That we're going to contribute. I think actually this turn we're sending the gems because we have no pearls right now. If you check our mail, outgoing mail, there might be like 100 pearls or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that, is sort of.
How much is on putting, or what's the total cast? Do you know?
I think we're both putting in about the same amount. So the thought is probably all of the globals other than Nexus, it'll definitely take down because they're not likely to be
Right.
huge casts, but Nexus might survive. And, we're
Yeah.
hoping that it's enough for that. We have
Okay.
some data on how big it is, but because Nexus casts 150 base, like it tends to be that the overcast is, I don't know, it's hard to do really big overcast of it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's very cool. Okay, so ending Nap with Nidavellir likely in a turn. And I think this, because I think in some ways you're in a far position 1, but I think in other ways you're not. Like, if you were to like sit on your laurels here and not do much for like 15 turns, I think the Nexus shenanigans might pay off. But
Yes, exactly.
if you guys do this Arcane Disruption and just destroy all the globals, I think it won't. I think he'll actually have less gems coming in from Nexus than he did from like losing all the globals. So, and then he'll have to like invest in rebuilding them, and then it's like this payoff period for Nexus to pay itself off gets farther and farther.
Yeah.
So I think
it's
kind of given that, if that works, then maybe you're just in like a super strong position one. But if like he were able to sit on top of all these globals for 15 turns, and you were to stay the same size, I think he might be position 1. So
yeah, exactly. This is where like, we in some ways one of the ways to fight Nexus, especially if they've, like Nidavellir, I think in this game has sort of invested a huge portion of their total
Ultra
gem
greed.
income all game into getting it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
you hit them before they've really hit the payback for it, and you take all of their natural gem income from provinces just by sort of having more stuff. And
Yeah.
and then even if they've got Nexus, like it might not be enough in order to be able to win the war.
That's 100% my read. It's like hard for to get the payback. It takes a while, especially if you invest a lot. And you've just got more stuff. Like he's not going to have more gems worth of gear, more gems worth of troops.
And if you don't,
he's got.
If you don't have the wish casters to efficiently convert that, it's still a 4-to-1 kind of like payoff from Nexus. So you can fight into Nexus, and as long as your trades are efficient, you'll be able to push.
Yeah, I think he should make Ether Warriors. If he has like, let's say he has 100 pearls a turn income, I think that might be the best, because I mean he could wish and then cast stuff, but like y'all are going to be fighting in magic scales. So, Ether Warriors are really good there.
Yeah, so his land I think is Drain. So, it's tricky.
I thought I was checking it.
Yeah, he's Drain.
Okay, never mind.
You might have clicked an Asphodel Dominion sort of legacy province.
I think I clicked here and I assumed this was yours, but yeah, it's probably was
Growth 5 or Growth 4. That's Asphodel, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think like right, and like the other thing is he actually is very underinvested in infrastructure. Like he doesn't have a lot of forts,
right.
And that sort of can make it really hard to sort of deal with raiding pressure.
Yeah, well, it's the Nidavellir way of having a lot of foreign recruit stuff. So,
but we should do like a quick look at like the income tab to just see what our sort of, it's on the left is probably the best way to see it. I just mean like look at, I think we've got like 45 Bakemono sorcerers or something like that at this point, and I think that's one of the other things that like we have had a sort of key scaling timing for Shinuyama, which is the point where the fact that you're really at 36 right now, so but the big recruit anywhere mages, you have enough money to just put all of your gold into them if you want to.
Yeah,
so we're probably getting like 3 or 4 a turn, and that's like the army that we've been using against Asphodel. Our main stack was like 12 of those, so it's really like quite a bit of sort of power to be able to be making an army like that every few turns. So yeah, that's
all right.
All I have for this turn.
Well, that's exciting. So I guess next turn we get to see if next episode, so it'll probably be 2 turns. We'll get to see you potentially injure nap with them. We're gonna get to see the astral disruption get cast and see what kind of damage that does. And we get to see the evolution of the squabbling over this asphodel territory between Naba, Asphodel, and Nidavangur. So some fun things to look forward to. And I guess the storming of the last Marinese fort. That'll also be fun. Any closing thoughts?
I think
That's all I got
on my end. Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Cheers.